Okay. And so you want to be off of here by, not saying that I'm gonna shut up, but
But if my phone starts going off at around 8 o'clock on Fridays, I'll probably
and
have to do what I gotta do if it goes off.
uh-huh. So
That's on our group. I don't understand why I can't log into my system. What is my password? Am I missing something?
so what is that? That's maybe the sun is flickering. The leaves are blowing in the trees that's causing a flicker. So yeah, I've got like a couple of meetings today myself, but yeah, I got a little time in between, or yeah, in between my meetings. So it's good. It's good. I did not sleep very well last night
No.
though. So, but neither here nor there. It's a work in progress, girl. It is a work in progress. So anyway, and I've got to be downtown today for that NFL draft. My organization, the Black Journalists, we have a table down there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I volunteered. So I'll be down there sitting at a table from 2 to 4 today.
Okay. Fun.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. I remember a time when this would have been exciting stuff for me. So I just got to figure out. I think it's the day is supposed to be
It is cold
coolish.
outside. No, it's cold to
Yeah.
me. But it's cold. I was out there with no socks on.
Oh,
It was
okay.
really cold outside. It's cold to me, coming from where we've been, coming from as far as
80.
temperature. Hmm.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. So okay, so I don't quite know how I'm getting downtown. There's a part of me that hates the downtown parking challenge. But then the other part is I don't necessarily like getting on the bus either. So
Right.
I might drive over to the Rapid, and
That was
I got to find out where I'm supposed to be. I think I'm supposed to be at Progressive Field. Not sure of where I am going to be sitting, if it's going to be someplace that's cold or not. So I'm going to try to check in with somebody that was down there yesterday and see,
okay.
so I can see what my day is going to look like.
I am having
So just all
serious stuff
good
going.
stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. All right, let's do this. Let's do this. All right. So good morning. Are you there? Is anybody watching? Because my screen over there is frozen, and
Is it?
I am
Oh,
not able to see it on my computer. But good morning. I think that we are online. And
hey.
yes, yes, blessings. Wonderful morning to you. I am excited for today and to be here with you guys. If you see this light, oh my gosh,
No.
this is this is gonna be a challenge. Um, when you see the light flickering, it's because the sun is coming up on my face,
I love
and
it.
when the leaves get to blowing, they are blowing, and it makes it look like there's a flicker on my face. But I am here. All is well. Thank you, God, that all is well. I want to apologize. Yesterday, I lost some people in the midst of me trying to figure out. I thought Jessica was calling in, and I went to answer it, and it just cut the whole darn thing off.
Oh.
So I don't know. Did you see that come up on your screen too, or was it just on
No,
my
I
screen?
didn't see anything. I looked and it was just me. And I was like,
Oh
oh, okay.
yeah.
Because I had put because I'm able to hear you when sometimes when I'm
Mhm.
answering, but I had and I had to be fully present in this call, so I put you on mute, and so I'm doing the call. Next thing I know, it was just a picture of me like sitting there. So I was like, oh well, she ended, and I had been listening, and I thought, well, that was an interesting ending. Um, and
Yeah, and so I went back on to finish up because I felt like I was in the midst of a roll, and
yes.
went back on to finish up at least the idea. And so I
Okay.
probably lost some folks in the process, including you. Uh,
Yeah.
so my apologies for that. So
Well, thank you for just, I know I sent you a text, but yeah, like that was so yummy. It was good. And, I thank the divine for the message and the messenger. Like it was just like, that was just good. It was
good,
really
good,
good. And
good,
so
good.
thank you for just being a vessel to,
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because I do notice how much better I feel when I'm not biting my tongue. And sometimes I feel like, oh, this is not the space for me to go off on one of my tangents. And sometimes I get this urge to want to go off on one of my tangents. And so I'm so grateful for this space to allow me to express. So thank you for being here. All right. So, Father, Mother God, in this moment, we give thanks for each and every soul that engages in this particular sharing, in this conversation, and all of our conversations. As we come here, we know that we are opening ourselves up to receive your light, love, and wisdom of the highest. We bless each and every person who lays eyes on us or who even thinks about any one of us as we share this space together. Whoever comes here, it is just blessed and a blessing. And so we give thanks for this space and we let it be. Thank you for flowing in and through us. Amen.
man.
Amen. Amen. Yay. Yay. So you guys, I am this particular so Stephanie and I do this little check-in with each other, and it seems as though the interface with Zoom is operating much faster than it used to, and so sometimes you get to hear some of the chatter that we have because I've said and we've mentioned before that we don't talk outside of this morning thing. And so it is sometimes wonderful just to have that moment of check-in and to see how we're doing. And so how are you doing? How you doing? It's cool to get that level of check-in. And then here's the other thing is that as we go through this, to just be aware of even what you're more conscious and aware about in your life, as you go through your day, your thinking, your thoughts. What comes to surface, what bubbles up for you? I think that is also that awareness that we talk about, consciousness. I think that is one of those things that we strive to become more of as we go through this journey. I was excited because yesterday Gretchen had shared that she had been listening to the audio book, but is waiting on her book, her actual book to arrive.
Nice.
So and yeah, start making notes in the margins and highlighting. And there are books that just, even when I buy, because I tell you guys, I have two Kindles and in my Kindle app, I can't highlight like I do in my book and
Hmm.
just flip back through the pages and just, I haven't learned how to use Kindle like that. I mean, some people say that they love the Kindle better, but I have not found how to do that with Kindle or Audible. It just doesn't
Not
work.
definitely not with Audible. All
Yeah.
right, I gotta grab this one moment.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, so it's a wonderful thing when you have an actual physical book that you can really like kind of, make your notes in. You can look at the highlights, you can, thumb through it, notice sections, get intimate with the book. And that intimacy with a book is, I think, something that we can all strive for. Since I am working on, you guys know that this whole endeavor, if you've been watching me for any time, this whole endeavor started out because I wanted to write and publish a book this year. I am going to write and publish a book this year. So I joined a 5 a.m. writers group, which Rhonda Crowder does over Instagram. So every morning at 5 a.m., we meet up on Instagram to write or work on whatever project we are doing. And so started doing that at the beginning of this year because I was so determined. And now this has really changed my my life, I'll say it like that, because now what happens is that as part of joining her 5 a.m. club, she said, oh, that, well, I'm not the originator of the 5 a.m. group. She says, there's a lot of 5 a.m. groups online. All you got to do is, type in hashtag 5 a.m. club, and you will see that there are more. And so come to find out, it was based on a book called The 5 a.m. Club by Sharma. Forget what his first name, Robin Sharma, Sharma. And that book, when I listened to it, and that book just was like, so it broke down that 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. hour, and it just talked about taking charge of your time. So now I get up at 4:30 and I go and I do partly what he says, like at 5 a.m. I start working out before 5 a.m. So work out the first, his is the 20 club. So it's the first 20 minutes you work out, but I usually start my workout before 5 a.m. so that I could do my morning pages, which is journaling and meditation, and then still start writing before the 5 o'clock hour is up. And then I circled back into the group, and we started adding an exercise component to it, which is looking good on me. And so we've been exercising for 80 some days now, at least a half an hour, which is what I do first thing. And then we check out, and then I check in with you guys. So it is like my morning from 4:30 up until 7:15 is like boom, boom, boom. And then I do this from 7:15 to 8:30, and then it's like I'm off and running. So my days are just supercharged. I just got to get my nights where I'm, getting a better, more restful sleep. And yeah, last night was a little rough, but usually I am getting a restful sleep, just I don't feel like I'm getting enough of it. So I am going to be working on that. If I could be in bed by 10 o'clock. Last night I was in bed by 10 o'clock, but then I checking emails and doing all this other stuff. And it says in that 5 a.m. Club thing to make sure that you are not looking at screens in that last hour before you go to bed. But I got to looking at screens and checking stuff, and I just didn't get to it. So I would say to you, if there is something that you want to change or accomplish in your life, start writing it down. That I think that the power of transformation comes with the commitment to be transformed. I mean, it is a commitment that you make. And so whether it is writing a book or working out or getting some kind of program together for yourself, um, you know, in the 5 a.m. club, it says break it down into the S to the third power, small, simple steps. Small, simple steps. What's the smallest thing that you can do? Smallest thing I can do is if I'm working on a book, that means show up at my computer and write. Right? That's a small, simple step, and commit to doing that for a certain amount of time every single day. And then the act of it is amazing. Oh, thank you, Gretchen. Thank you. So then the act of doing that is really an amazing thing. So for me, it is, you know, I got several components of it, but the main thing is the first thing on my little prayer cards that I've got around the house, one on the refrigerator, one on the bathroom mirror, is writing and publishing that book this year. So you guys know that I'm on a mission, and all the other stuff is just icing on the cake. So I'm excited. I'm excited. And I want to write a book that you can highlight in, you know, have other stuff that you've heard me say, right? Because part of me writing and talking about this stirs up stuff for me. And I think that this has made me, as I'm listening and being consciously more aware of the thoughts as they hit me, it means that I'm cultivating that part of myself that is intuitive. And so, if nothing else, here's what I used to do. I used to tell people, even if you don't have somebody to talk to, begin talking out loud. Because even though you can't see anybody sharing the space with you, speaking the words into the ethers matter. When in the Bible, when it said God spoke the words, let there be, it doesn't say that there were all of these ears around to listen. Now, I know that it was a chorus of voices, and our voice was in the midst of the let there be, right? So I get that part. But it's not about where it is, like that it lands on somebody. You know, people always talking that stuff, as long as you don't answer yourself and all of this stuff. Start speaking your word as you go around your house, as you doing your stuff. Talk about when I first started doing affirmations, I was doing them as I walked around the track in the morning. And my affirmation was, I started out with this thing: I love me unconditionally, and everything I do is good and very good, and I am prosperous now. I love me. And that was how I walked around the track. Because here's what the thing was, is that when I first started, you know, I went to see a therapist because I was raped when I was, you know, when I was younger, had not done any work around that. And so as I went to talk to this therapist, you know, one of her things was, she was like, you know, you know, it therapists, a lot of times what they do, and Stephanie is a therapist online, and you know, she's on the call still, even though you can't see her. But one of the things they do best is to listen, you know. So sometimes they ask you questions and then they listen. And sometimes we don't realize that you and I are worthy of being treated much better sometimes than we allow ourselves to be. And when you think that the only thing you have to offer, or the only thing that is good about you, or when you have these diminished ideas about yourself, then what happens is that translates into all your relationships, not just with yourself, but with other people too. And so when she asked me to do the I love you exercises in front of the mirror, I looked in the mirror and I'm looking at this woman looking back at me. And I was like, so first off, I'm like, Like, I love you. And then it started popping up in my head, like, I just got that scene from the Matrix where all of these people are, Neo is in the room with the whatever guy it is, and he got all these thousands of TVs around the screen, and all of them are shouting something at him, right? And so there's somebody in the mirror shouting back at me saying, "You stole such and such when you were 14 years old, and you did this, and you got big thighs, and you got, you know, all of these reasons, all of this stuff, bills and stuff like that." Those things started cropping up as I'm looking at myself in the mirror, as if somehow that contributes to whether or not I am able to love myself. Like, I'm everything that came up, every judgment, when I was going to say I love you, all of those judgments come up. I know people who, say for instance, they meet a guy. I got girlfriends like this, right? They meet a guy, and a guy comes over to him, saunters over to him and says, "How you doing?" And they look at him and say, "Well, I'm on a diet," or, "I just about got my credit score in order, but I'm all right," And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, what is that about ourselves that we think that all of this stuff that we're judging about ourselves, that somehow somebody else is looking at us like we're a credit score, or like we're a number on a scale, or the price tag on our clothes. And I will tell you, I won't deny that there are some shallow ass people out there that do just that. But you don't have to be one of them about yourself. You can know that what you bring to the table is worth way more than that. What I remember, so I started doing these I love yous, and the more I did them, in spite of my judgments, I started seeing that those things weren't things that took away from me, right? It wasn't something that diminished how wonderful I am. It wasn't. Before, I was judging it. I was judging it. I was judging it. I was judging it. And then all of a sudden, I was like, damn, yeah, good, googly moogly. I mean, who wouldn't be? I'm honored to be with my darn self, right? So who else wouldn't be? And so I got through the exercises that I was doing. And so this is something, I mean, I always tell people that was a powerful thing, even more than going to talk to somebody else, just doing mirror work, right? So whether you're doing mirror work about how you feel about yourself, how you see yourself, your worthiness, what you think you deserve, all of that becomes wrapped up in a simple word like, I love you. All of that. And so that piece right there was just like, whoa. And so, it's starting off with the small stuff, what seems like the small foundational stuff, and then building from there till you get to the point where you can sit here and look into a camera and say, I am still having a love affair with my darn self. I love it, love it, love it. Anyway, so now, I love this, having something to contribute to the world, because I do have a voice, right? We all, each and every one of us has a voice, and we can use our gifts, our talents, our voice, whatever it is, to uplift and enliven the world, or we can sit there and squash on it, We can sit there and think about all the stuff that's missing out of our lives. If you don't do anything else, just try to, to do the mirror work. Just, if you can do it today, if you can do 5 today, then tomorrow try doing 25, right? And then just increase it until it becomes a part of of yourself, right? And anytime you just, if you catch yourself looking in the mirror, just, wink at yourself and say, but I love you. And not because you so cute or you so fine, but just because you so you, right? Just, and then, and through that self-love and that self-acceptance, you get to a place where I believe that you see all the wonderful stuff more clearly about yourself, right? This is not other people. And sometimes other people's estimations, because I'm always talking about, I'm not one that gets compliments or takes compliments well from people. It's just, I just, whatever that is about. But, I'm better, right? But I don't let it define me. And so the so the things that people say is just icing on the cake. It doesn't become the cake. It's like, ooh, she says I look great in the sun, ooh, it doesn't become that. It just becomes like, oh, yay, yeah. Because I always tell people that when I look out my window, and I'm rambling because I need to get to this text. But when I look out my window in the morning time and I see the wheat leaves, they're waving at me and they're just like saying, "Hey, Sandra, we're so happy you woke up." And the sun is kissing me and saying, "Oh, it's loving me. You are there." And that's how each of us every day, as you go along, as you take a breath, knowing that air came just so you can have that moment of connectedness, right? I mean, all of this is right here for you. The flowers are blooming just for you. Your picture is on God's refrigerator, right? Just you. You are all that in a piece of cake. And when you get that in your mind and start living in that truth, I tell you, it makes you walk different. It makes you talk different. It becomes such a wonderful thing to experience and to have. So, oh my goodness, I love it. I love it. All of that from a ray of sunshine. Okay, so let me go back into this because I was saying yesterday that there was some stuff that I wanted to pull out of some of the ideas that are being shared here. And when I just looked at the page, I saw first off that in quotation marks, this idea of false gods. And I think I wanted to talk to you a little bit today. And I talk about this all the time, about this idea of fear. And because we don't identify it as fear a lot of times. We have thoughts about a number of things, but that we don't identify as fear. So say first off, like with the example I used about the girlfriend who will start off a conversation with a new guy talking about her diet or credit score, or sometimes we do that to the guy. We want to check out his credit score or his background, or and all of this is like fear showing up in our relationship, fear that somehow we are not enough. And sometimes we defend against love. So let me see if I can explain it like this. The defense is somehow we might think that we're not quite enough. Like, what do I have that would hold a person's attention, or that would be worthy of what the good that I am getting out of this? Because sometimes we, in this capitalist society, we sometimes have this tendency to diminish people down to a dollar amount. And here's the thing. I remember coming to the awareness that there are people in the world who, and this is how this is kind of like how I grew up. I grew up in a family where our value was on family. Good morning, Willie. Our value was on family. So when we sat down at the kitchen table to eat, my mother used to set the table, or I'm sorry, she had us set the table. She wasn't always the main cook. I became, after a certain age, I became the cook because that was when my mother went to work, my parents worked, everybody worked. You all had a job. And I literally would catch hell if my mother came home and I hadn't at least started dinner, is what she would say, at least started. And so it became this thing. But we would actually, when I was younger, we would sit down, after you get teenagers, it's a little hard to do this, unless of course you make it an intentional thing for Sundays or something like that. But we would sit down at the table and we had the food set out on the table. And if you're there at the table, it's not just that you're thinking, oh, I want a thigh or I want a leg. You're thinking, this is, I mean, and this is, I think this is what you develop out of that thing. This is the pie. And all of us here, all 5 kids, 2 adults, well, 6 kids, 2 adults, right? Because, yeah. So all of us are at the table. We got 6 kids, 2 adults, and all of us need to eat. And so you learn about sharing, and you learn about this notion that, because I go out to places, I go out to events, and I will see people. We had an event where we had, for my niece, we had a potato bar. And at this potato bar, we had baked potatoes, and then you had any number of, 20 other toppings that you could put on this baked potato. And I was always amazed at the people who would get in line and not realize that there is 30 people there. There's enough baked potatoes for everybody, but the toppings are there. And they would take half the doggone dish of bacon bits and put it on their one potato as if there's not 30 people in line behind them. And it makes me aware that not everybody had the lesson of sitting down at the table and having the desire that everybody get their fill, get their portion. And that doesn't mean at the expense of another. That means as included with another. Now, I will tell you, my dad and my brother, Kevin, they could eat, right? They could throw down. And then they would sit there after everybody had ate, and then they gonna be the cleanup committee, right? My dad, if he look over at your plate, you gonna eat that? I mean, he would just, you never had, there was never the conversation of there's people starving somewhere, because my dad's big old hands would come over like this. You gonna eat that? Like it could be a corner of cornbread that you hadn't eaten yet. You gonna eat that? And so whatever the case may be, we learned how to all experience, that thing together. And so don't even ask me how I got on this thing, but it became this thing of, we always had this honor and respect of knowing that all of us was in that together, right? So it's no me, it is us. And so I'm trying to circle back, because I know I started off talking about false gods, but it becomes this thing of when you see people, when you meet people, these kinds of things, this kind of awareness comes into play when you're talking about the worth and what a person brings to a table. I think that's where I was coming from, right? Because we see other people, we see potential mates, and we want to, just think about them as this, that, or the other. I will tell you that I have never looked at a person, a sibling or anybody in my life as a liability. When you care about people, when you feel this thing of love, it never becomes about, oh, but you costing me like this. I don't even know where that comes from. Maybe it was how people, the message that people got in their homes. Um, but I never got that people were an expense or a cost. People are a blessing. And I think if we don't communicate that, if you are sitting there telling your kids or speaking to another person as if all they are is something, another expense on a line, how demeaning and how diminishing is that? And I think that one of the things we need to do is consider how we show up in our friendships and our relationships, to know that they are the gift. And all of this other stuff, what good does having money do if you are like sitting all by yourself? I mean, come on. If nobody loves you and you don't love anybody, you just like, gimme, gimme, gimme. There are stories. Jesus told biblical parables about this exact same thing, about changing our mindset, because you are blessed to be a blessing. That's what we learn through these things, these incubators called family, right? We learn this stuff. Yesterday, it was interesting because I got into a conversation. The funeral for my cousin was yesterday. And so last night, there's just this house full of people, and it was just an amazing time. And we got into this conversation. I was telling somebody, because I started, there was a record on, and I started just dancing, and this one woman asked me about what it was like to grow up in a house with the siblings that I have, right? Because we all just adore each other. And I started talking about not just my siblings, but also, coming up in, I went to, here in Cleveland, my junior high school, which is 7th through 9th grade at the time, was Jameson. And I was talking about, even though I wasn't big into it, but, we had this thing called rec, and we had, you could go into the gymnasium and you could dance at lunchtime, or we had talent shows and bands and screaming at the guys and all of that stuff. And it created such a wonderful sense of not just community, but of just, it gave our guys really pride in their talents, and and dance and play instruments and do all of these things. And then, but that was juxtaposed up against, the younger people that were there, that were saying, yeah, they started busing, and we didn't do any of that stuff. We went to this school over here, and I heard y'all used to hand dance, but we never learned about hand dancing, or we never had an opportunity to do, the talent shows, or we never had the opportunity to participate. And I was just thinking to myself, like, how sad is that we get so caught up on, on the stuff that sometimes doesn't really even matter. We get caught up on it. And then we learn to devalue this sense of community. So when you see somebody that has had that experience and you have not, we sit there saying, oh, that ain't nothing. But oh my gosh, it's an amazing thing. So even as the Bishop family, we used to have talent shows in our own right, just us there, the 5 kids, and our parents were the audience, and we up there. Pam is the only one that really sings, but we up there, whether it's dancing or doing something else, we were doing our thing. And it becomes about a sense of owning what it is that you bring to the table, your gifting. Unless it doesn't have to be perfect. In its imperfection, let me show up and give my piece. Like, that's like the story of the little drummer boy. He says, I have no gift to give. Paul rumpa pum pum. Can I play for him? For some reason, that just wanted me to, it makes me want to just bump, just boo-hoo. But this little drummer boy comes and he's like, I've got no gift to give. I've got nothing to lay before our king, but can I play for him? And so he plays his little drum. You guys have a drum and you're not even playing that. So we have to figure this out. We have to figure out what it means to get back to just recognizing that you are the gift. Pa-rum-pa-pum-pum. Oh, that's for me is, I don't know about y'all, but that for me is big. That's big for me. Yeah, that's big. So I didn't said a lot. I didn't said a lot and haven't even gotten off of the sentence. So y'all stop interrupting me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm having fun. So this idea of that fear holds us. So the fear of other people's judgments, the fear of other people's assessments, sometimes we don't make the connections that we could, because what we fear is that something that has already happened to us in the past will happen to us in the future. And so we go around allowing ourselves to be dictated by what has been into keeping us from doing what we desire to do. So whether it is approaching a person that you're really interested in. And there is a part to us that has to be true to that too. Because what we do is we look at people in very interesting ways. We look at people in very interesting ways. And I think that when there is a rightness or a connection there, not just, oh, I'm gonna shoot at that one, right? Or I'm gonna, go for it. But when there's a genuine connectedness there, it's funny because animals go up to each other and they sniff, and to be honest with you, is when you feel a real chemistry with somebody, when you sniff, it doesn't feel like you're smelling sauce, right? The smelling sauce is something that'll wake you up like, woo. Like how your reaction is to some ammonia or something that doesn't resonate with your system there, but when it's right, there is it's just this is, and that scent, right? And so how do we begin to recognize the real chemistry that happens between two people? How do we become comfortable with that, so that when somebody says, yeah, you're not a match for me, we don't take it so personal. We just like, okay, I sniffed, you sniffed, we sniffed, and we don't have that chemistry, right? And then move on, instead of like getting it like, oh my God, she rejected me, and she rejected me because my shoes wasn't tight, or because I didn't have the right car, or because my pedigree wasn't this, or sometimes we take it there when it may not be at all. It could be that somebody is looking for butterflies and all you gave them was, yeah, that's not my scent. That's not the chemistry that resonates with me. Come on. We have got to develop and grow past that place where we are so offended by somebody saying, yeah, this is not it. It's kind of like you going, we try on clothes, we try on shoes the same kind of way. It's not to say anything is wrong with what we've tried on and it didn't fit. It's just not for us once we do that. And so we've got to develop the musculature. That I love you work helps, because once you are accepting of yourself and loving of yourself, you're not so tripped out when somebody says, yeah, I don't think that this is a match, right? And that was one of my favorite things. Like I just don't think this is a match, because I need to be honest about that stuff. And then you sometimes we learn to kind of squelch that part of us when we start creating false gods, right? The false god we're holding up is yeah, but he takes me here, or yeah, but he does this, or he shoveled my, I had a guy come by here one time. This guy was really into me, and there must have been like my snow was up to my hips, right? And I'm stuck in the house, and this dude shows up with a shovel and he shovels out my driveway. And I'm like, dude, thank you. But I got nothing else for you, because I'm not feeling you like that. I service all day long, right? I used to have a guy who, when I was much younger, in my teenage years, early 20s, I used to work out at Randall Mall. And at night when I got off work, this dude would drive out there to the mall just to make sure I got to my car safely. He would get out of his car and dust the snow off of my car. If I was, it sounds like a stalker, I know, right? But at the time, it was really sweet, but it wasn't enough for me to say yes. It just was not. And it's not personal. It's not personal, because I was like all day long, oh, this is so sweet. But yeah, that wasn't me. It wasn't me. So we have got to stop creating false gods out of this notion of what it is, the gift that we, so if somebody's gift, and the five love languages is really good at this. It says if somebody's gifting to you is service, if that's how they feel, as if they're showing up and they do service for you, that might not be what your love language is. So um I might be like, yeah, dude, that's great, I appreciate you, you you shovel my driveway, you sweep off my car, you pump my gas, but that ain't it for me, right? It's not personal. It's you just know. So let me move off of that, right? False gods. We create false gods out of so much. False gods out of positions, out of titles, out of the labor that we provide, out of feeling that this company can't do without me, out of the homes that we live in. We create false gods out of so many different things, out of our own sense of ourselves, our own intelligence. We create a false god out of, just any number of things. What do you hang your hat on, right? What is it about yourself that you believe, you perceive as being, above and beyond everybody else? What are you holding up as your, or what are you holding up? It becomes this thing of how you relate to, and it's not just things. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's perceptions, but all of them out of this thing of somehow giving your power over to it, as if as you are not enough. So we have to really look at ourselves and examine what it is that we are, what becomes our false gods. Now, I know for me, there is, yeah, I struggle with the same idea. I struggle with the same ideas, right? and my struggle with those ideas becomes this thing of where I tell people all the time that I quit stuff just to make sure that I can. So if I'm drinking coffee, I'm like, you are not the boss of me, right? I will just wean myself off. You know, and if I know I'm gonna get a headache from weaning myself off, I cut it down little by little, just so I know that it's not occupying that place in my mind. If whatever it is, it becomes this thing of, I actually, there's a lot of stuff that I just kind of like, I got to cut it off because I got to know, I got to come back to it or really have an idea or something around that. I don't, I'm not that girl. I am not that one. So, but there are a lot of folks who create different false gods. And I used to talk about it in regards to the stuff that you own that you don't know really owns you, because sometimes it is about other people's opinions of you that you get in over your head, or you want to have a certain something, right? If it's a certain house or certain clothes or certain possessions that you have, like, look at this, right? I dated a guy back in the day, and he bought a Rolex. And he told me, he was like, you know what? He said, when I walk in the room, he says, I'm going to walk in the room like this is my Rolex and this is my girlfriend. Like, I'm thinking, oh, is that how you going to be? Come on now, don't really? Come on. So yeah, that means boot, gone. You gone, boy, bye, right? All right. So fear that we are not enough is one of the biggest fears that we have to deal with. And that is an amazing thing. I know I'm just rambling. So I'm gonna blame that on Stephanie. She's not here to keep me on point. And I've got a few minutes left. So let me just kind of continue on here. We simultaneously, I'm reading out of the book now, we are simultaneously matter and spirit. So the physicality, but we are also spiritual beings. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. So we are spirit. And then we have these body suits that is us, right? And yeah, in order to understand ourselves and to be healthy in both body and spirit, we have to understand how matter and spirit interact. And I don't know if I made it to this point yesterday or not. What draws the spirit or life force out of our bodies, and how we can retrieve our spirits from the false gods or of fear, anger, and attachment to the past, right? Oof. So, and so she's naming the false gods as fear, anger. Now, that's going there. And attachments to the past. How many of us get our identity from the anger, from, and that's one of my prayers too that I do on a regular basis. It's like, first off, I don't want to be anybody's victim. And I don't want to perceive myself as anybody's victim, because a victim, to be in a victim mindset, is very powerless, because it is giving somebody else the authority over you. It's saying that your actions are dictated by whatever it is that they have done. So if somebody is not paying you enough, or if somebody, if what your parents didn't give you, or experiences that you haven't had, the school system that we have put ourselves in a victim role in society for so long, and we don't realize that to be a victim means that we will always, if you're always a victim, you will always have a victimizer. So it's always what somebody else is doing to you. And I don't want to be in that powerless space. And so therefore, I pray to transform my vision about what this is about. Let me understand why this has happened so that I'm getting the lesson. Right? Because I talked before about this being a curriculum. There are lessons that we are here to learn. If we are in the victim mindset, we are not looking at it like it's a lesson. It's what you did to me. The lesson is I can either stay in that row, I can sit there and continue to have you put me down or tear me down or break me down and whatever. I can either stay in that spot or I can learn the lesson. And there is a lesson. I can learn that I am powerful too. I am a spiritual being. And all of these experiences that I'm going through, right? I give them meaning. Oh, you're not gonna break me, right? You can't break me. So anyway, and attachments to the past, right? So a lot of times we attach our stuff on stuff that it has no power to change, but we can transform it in the present through our giving, bringing different meaning to it, right? That is not to say that it didn't happen, but the meaning that we give to it is becomes something very different. So every attachment we hold on to out of fear commands a circuit of our spirit to leave our energy field and to use the biblical phrase, she says, breathe life into the earth, or to breathe life onto the earth. So, and then when we do that, it costs us our health. So, in the Bible, there is something about don't let your seed hit, the earth, or don't waste your energy. It doesn't say that. Well, I don't know, but there is something about wasting it on nothingness. And so if you are sending your energy into the past without any redeeming quality to it, right? If it doesn't have any redemptive quality to it, you just sending it into the past because of nothing, then you are wasting part of your energy. And this idea of wasting this energy, this power that you have in the present on something that is just static in the past, if you are not working to transform it, heal it, whatever, those things are just like wasting your energy. That means that you don't have the fullness of it in the present moment where you need it, where it can be used and transformed into something different. And so it becomes this thing of how do we then draw our power back to us? And it's by giving up these ideas of false gods, dealing with our fears, dealing with these feelings of inadequacy, dealing with all of this stuff so that we can come into the present moment in our fullness, right? I always say that scattered energy, which means that we are just kind of like frivolously expending energy on stuff that doesn't have any return value, is kind of like eating junk food. Or I always say scattered energy is like leaving the refrigerator door open. Or what are you trying to do? Cool the room? There's a purpose for a door being on a refrigerator. It keeps the cold air in. When you leave it open, when you when you're just leaving it wide open, then what you're doing is you're scattering energy, and that does not do what it is that you are trying to do. So stop scattering your energy. So every attachment we hold on to out of fear, I just read that, causes something. What drains your spirit drains your body. What drains your spirit drains your body, right? Sit with that for a minute. So say, for instance, you're stuck in a relationship out of fear. A fear that you can't do any better, find any better, nobody else will love you. This is as good as it gets. Some Say, for instance, you're stuck in a job out of fear. I'm not going to get a better job than this. I got benefits. I get to retire from this possibly. You know, you stay in a job because you believe you can't do any better than this. This is as good as it gets. Say, for instance, you I mean, any number of things. Say, for instance, you sit at home and watch TV because you don't have anything else to do, anything better to do. What else you going to spend your time on? Or maybe it's just, oh, this is so fascinating and wonderful. And this is the American pastime, right? You're not out walking, you're not out connecting with other people, just sitting there watching TV. That drains your spirit too, and it drains your body. Those things are things that we get all kind of pacifiers. You know what a pacifier is? You know, babies, they put that thing in their mouth and they suck on it, that keeps them, you know, sedates them, it kind of settles them down. Whatever, you get pacified with a whole bunch of stuff. Sometimes that pacifier is alcohol, sometimes it's food, sometimes it's TV, sometimes it's sex, sometimes it's you know, our toys. I mean, we get pacified with a whole bunch of stuff. And if you just think about pacifier and what it signifies, it just means go somewhere, sit down, and shut up, right? I don't know, but that ain't good for me, right? So what fuels our spirit also fuels our body. So let me see. I'm at 20. I gotta get off of here. And there's a whole section that I haven't even gotten to yet. And I always do this, and it's Friday, and I'm doing this, but that doesn't mean anything that it's Friday, because I'm on here every single day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I'm doing this every single day. But I'm trying to bring closure to certain sections at a time. So let me do this. I'm going to read this. Let me see if I can get through this last thing. I just need to stay the course, right? But I'm loving this. Okay, so the power that finds our bodies, our minds, our hearts does not originate in our DNA. The power that fuels our bodies, our minds, our hearts does not originate in our DNA. Rather, it has roots in divinity itself. So can you imagine that the download of energy, of insight, of power, of all of this stuff? So I don't want to, what do I call it? This enthusiasm that I have, this zest that I have, doesn't have its roots in my DNA. It has its roots in God. Ah, that is big. Now tell me that ain't big. That is big. That is big. That is big. And so when you consider that what you are, who you are, is gifted to you from the divine to show up in your world as you do. Who are you to keep squelching that down, to stick it in your pocket like it becomes like, you know, you like that stuff you stick in your wallet that you never take out and cash in, and then you look at it and it's expired and then it's no longer any good. Come on. We have got to do something with what we are given. So the truth, she says, is as simple and eternal as that what you are, who you are, is on purpose, that it is it's divine. It's a gifting from right here, right here. Oh my gosh, divinity. That's big. That's big. And that's good. And you know, if that was an apple, if you were just biting out of it, that would just be so satisfying and just good, juicy, 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 good. So So now so I'm on page 78 and I've got this big note on here to say that says read this. So I'm going to do just this. Let me see how many I can get through and do this justice without trying to rush. And then I'll pick up on this tomorrow. She says three truths are common to these spiritual traditions and to the principles of medical intuition, which is what she practices, what she is, a medical intuitive. So these three truths are common to the three spiritual traditions. Number one, I'm going to do today. She says, misdirecting the power of one's spirit will generate consequences to one's body and life. Misdirecting the power of one's spirit will generate consequences to one's body and one's life. So say for instance, let's talk about a job. Say for instance, you are on a job or you're working at something that is depleting your energy, your life source, that there is a bigger plan for your life, right? But yet you're languishing in a position that does not serve you, that you are not serving the world, that there is something bigger out there for you. I just want to stay right here for a minute. I had a friend of mine, I can't call her name at the moment, but this woman was somebody who I used to go to church with, adored her. She had a defect, let's say she had a defect that I really never even noticed. Let me just kind of make up one that kind of okay, so say for instance she had a arm that was deformed because it was smaller than her other arm or than her natural arm, and she was really paranoid about it. Now I hadn't even noticed it. It was not something that I key in on or anything like that, but it was something that was significant to her. So I think she went through great pains to hide it. So that was a judgment that she had about herself, that she thought that everybody that looked at her noticed it and saw it and had something to say about it. You know, we do that a lot of times with a whole bunch of stuff. We think that other people are noticing a scar or noticing something, you know, people ain't even keyed in on, you know, oh, my ears. And don't nobody see that. There ain't nobody even paying attention to it. What does it matter anyway? What? So what? So what? Right? Anyway, she had this job and she absolutely hated it. Every time I talked to her, she was complaining about the people she worked with and the stuff that was going on the job. It was really basically the politics of the position. And while she may have gone to school to become and to do what it was that she was doing, she didn't necessarily feel happy about what she was doing in her position. So people, situations just seemed like it was just a toxic environment. Anyway, so I was always hearing this from her. And fast forward, one day I get this call and I'm here at the house and I pick up the phone and all I can hear was, and I'm like, first off, I'm thinking to myself, who is this calling me? I'm crying, right? Sandra. And I'm like, yeah, oh, okay, now I got the voice. I'm like, okay, hey, what's going on? What's wrong? What's wrong? I got fired. And I'm sitting there and I, and I had to take a breath and I was like, well, congratulations. Oh, congratulations. I was like, girl, I said, you've been hating that darn job for a long time. And I say, and finally somebody had the courage to do what you couldn't do. You couldn't quit a job that you hated. And now somebody did it for you and you're crying. I was like, girl, put on your big girl panties. Call me back. I'm like that. I'm that friend. Y'all may hate me, but I'm that darn friend. My sister, same thing. Oh, girl, I'm coming over with waffles. Let's deal with this. I'm coming over with waffles. Let's have a party. I'm not gonna sit there and just languish in your victimhood. That's not the friend I'm gonna be. I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna tell you about the truth. I'm gonna tell you what you've been giving me. I'm gonna give it right back to you. So she called me back. She called me back about an hour later. And she was like, I never thought about it like that. You think they knew I hated it? I was like, girl, everybody that knew you hated that job. Right. And so we talked it through. Do you know within a month, she had a job that paid her double and she was actually running the doggone thing. And it became one of those places that was just like her whole life transformed. But because she was stuck in her fear, her judgment about, oh my God, but I'm this and I'm crippled. And you ain't crippled, right? Yeah, that doggone thing is, you're not crippled. Sometimes we have to tell people the truth because they don't have the courage. And sometimes that darn truth hurts. It hurts. But she didn't have the courage to quit a job that she hated. And then when they did it for her, she was able to go out and find something that was better than what she ever imagined. And so sometimes God's got to take stuff out of your life to make room for something better. Because a lot of times we are busy hanging on. If you're tethered to something and God is trying to give you something better, don't let it be that it has to do the choice and the choosing for you. Make the choice. The Course in Miracles says that you are going to learn. Your decision is to learn through pleasure or through pain, but you will learn. Don't be that person who is so stuck that you can't let go of what you are in to receive the blessing that is meant for you. Oh! All right, so I might pick up on this again tomorrow, but that was what I had for you today. So this is good. This is good for me. And if that was about you, you know it. If it's not about you, look, I always tell people, if the shoe don't fit, take it off. But if it does, you got to figure that out. Right? It is up to you to do that particular work. Anyway, I love you and I adore you. I thank you so much for being here. Light of God surrounds you. Love of God enfolds you. The power of God protects you. The presence of God watches over you wherever you are. God is and all is well. I thank you. I thank you for this day. And thank you for being here. All right. Peace and blessings to you. All right. Have an amazing weekend. All right. I'll see y'all tomorrow. I'll be here tomorrow. Yeah, you come too. All right. See ya.